Welcome back, everybody, to the ND and Free podcast, a podcast and media platform that explores how NDers can live their truth and feel free in their lives. We hear from inspiring coaches, therapists, experts, and fellow NDers from all over the world. I'm Owen Morgan, a wellbeing coach and speaker. I have over 10 years experience in the wellbeing sector and have interviewed over 500 people across 4 podcasts. I've received my ADHD diagnosis at 41 and it changed my life. My mission is to explore how the human spirit and understanding our whole self can bring us a life full of possibilities. Okay, guys, we're back for another ND and Free Thrive Guide show. And we have an amazing ADHD coach on. We've got ADHD life and mindset coach Leah Carroll joining us. Leah helps fellow NDers stop relying solely on meds and advice from Instagram Reels and start building a real life toolbox to navigate life with more control and way less chaos. While medication can be life-changing, pills don't teach skills. And that's where coaching can be a game changer in learning how to actually work with your ADHD brain. Through one-to-one coaching, small group programs, and soon to launch monthly memberships, Leah supports a neurodivergent community with realistic, sustainable strategies tailored to your specific brand of ADHD. Love that. Her work centers around less shame, more self-trust, and helping ADHDers finally feel like they're not doing it all wrong. I did it! Leah, welcome to the show. How did I do with your intro?
You did great. That was amazing. Like I said, I am sorry that my ADHD word vomit intro came out and I gave you the whole spiel. So thank you. You did it beautifully.
No, I love it. I love reading stuff out like that. It's just praying and mess it up. So no edits took place, everyone. So we're fine. But yeah, welcome to this space. You know, we've met through a fellow guest of mine, and that's the way I like to build this community. So it's really special to know someone who knows someone. So I want to say, firstly, thank you for taking the time to come on. And are you familiar with the podcast world? Is it something you enjoy?
It is, yes. I am kind of, playing with creating my own podcast. It is very kind of hit or miss. It's very persistent versus consistent, which is kind of how I like to be. And then, yes, I am a big fan of consuming podcasts. So between podcast and audiobooks, yeah, I am very thankful for my headphones.
Yes, me too. I can't imagine
Yeah.
life without podcast playing at least a few
Yeah.
times a week. But yes, I'm really looking forward today. We're going to be looking at mindset, looking at black and white thinking, basically how the bridge rigid thinking, and maybe a bit of neuroplasticity just for fun towards the end as well, because I love that. But give us some more. I know we did the big spiel there, but just give us some context. As of today, you said there you're launching maybe monthly membership. So yeah, where are you at? Why do you love supporting the Neurodivergent community? Why do you care? So a little bundle of things
Yeah, a
there.
little bundle of things. So, yeah, the first part of that was kind of how I support the community. So it is through one-on-one coaching, it's through small groups. So I have an all men's group and an all women's group. I did not set out to gender my groups. It just kind of happened that way. The first group that I led was a small group of women, and at the end of it, the feedback was, "We're so glad this was a woman-only space. It was so great. No offense, not to have the men involved." And so I thought, "Okay, that's great. I'll kind of keep going with that." But then it did really, I've got a lot of male clients, and I didn't have a space for them. So as of yesterday, actually, I have launched my very first men's only group, and it's beautiful. And it's just a small, all of my small groups are exactly that. They're no more than 6 to 7 people. So small, intimate connection, community. Let's all realize that we are not on this island alone. And while we know that, having a space where you can really see it and feel it and talk it and all of that can be really helpful. And then yeah, I'm hopefully I've kind of put this out there as an accountability tactic of like, I have wanted to launch this membership for a hot minute. And it's always been like, well, I'll wait till this and maybe we'll do this, blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes. And so, yes, I am hoping by August I will have a membership to funnel my current clients into. It's at a much more affordable price point. I really want this kind of support to be accessible to as many people as possible. Even at the monthly membership, it is still, somewhat of a luxury until it's not. It's also a bit of a necessity for a lot of people. But I'm really trying to make it financially accessible to as many people as I possibly can. So there's that side of things. As far as the why of what I do, I have some notes as well, so I just wanna make sure I'm staying on track, but I know what that, feels like I said in my intro, to go through life feeling like I'm doing everything wrong, and even if I'm not doing everything wrong, everybody else is doing it better and righter. And it is a feeling that leaves you exhausted and depleted and sad and, feeling a bit broken. And so I really, I want to help support people that have felt that are feeling that are in the thick of, why can't I get my shit together? To realize there is a different way, there is hope. We do have a lot more control than we have been led to believe by ourselves, by society, by whoever. So it really is just kind of getting down to the pillars of my coaching practice, which are self-awareness, self-acceptance, radical honesty, and imperfect action. When you can really start looking at those things, you can start helping yourself in ways that I never thought possible for myself. And so I want to help people realize that there is a different way. And just because something's always been a way doesn't mean it has to stay that way.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's so early, isn't it? It's also the neurodivergent community itself and awareness within the global space. It's all still so new, and I feel like we're all going into these diagnoses and we're coming out of it going, okay, right. So I'm diagnosed. This is my experience. I was like, so what do I do now? Do I get a coach? Can I do this without meds? Do I need to change the way I live? So do you find that with people kind of like, so what now? That kind of like, my truth's here, but I don't know what to use. How do I use it now?
Yes, 100%. I find that a lot of us don't really know what to do with the diagnosis. Even if we were diagnosed when we were younger, I'm 40, I'll be 41 this month. And I feel like a lot of people in my generation, even if you were diagnosed as a kid, what does that really mean? There weren't a lot of support. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe there's meds, maybe there was some kind of therapy involved somewhere, but at least in my experience growing up in the States, in Kentucky, there wasn't a lot of support for that. I think the kids that are getting diagnosed now, probably that this generation coming up, it'll probably look quite a bit different, but I think for a lot of us, the only acceptable people, allowed to have ADHD are 8-year-old little boys. I mean, that's who it was when I was growing up. The girls in the mix were kind of the chatterboxes or, the ones that were watching the butterflies out the window and all of that, and that translates very differently into adulthood. And so, yeah, I do get a lot of, "I've been diagnosed, I tried meds, or I decided not to." Either way, I see a lot of people that try meds, they make a difference in the beginning, and then quintessential ADHD, the shiny wears off. And the meds just don't work as well as they did in the beginning because your system's gotten used to them. And that's when the, okay, now what, kicks in. Because a lot of people, I think, have been led to believe that, and I don't talk a lot about meds, so it's interesting that we're talking about meds, but I think a lot of people are led to believe that I'm going to take meds, it's going to change my life, and that's all I have to do. And that's very rarely the case. Like I said in my intro, pills don't teach skills, and while they can be a really big life changer, I mean, I've got multiple clients that meds have changed their life, but they're still my client for a reason, and it's because of the systems and the skills and the mindset that comes along with the puzzle piece that are meds with all of these other, tools that we can build in our toolbox.
Yeah, it's kind of like a partnership, isn't it? I think, the two together, the skills teaching and the medication together, that's where you can really start to thrive
Right.
because your habits remain the same, especially from neuro wiring of the brain, things like that. You're still going to behave in certain ways. So I think that partnership, the unison, is just really, really
Yeah,
powerful.
it definitely.
And it's not, either or.
And with having so many clients in the UK, a lot of my clients are not on meds. They are not officially diagnosed because the wait list with NHS and this and that is, up to, I think, maybe 2 years now or something like that. And then there's med shortages and blah, 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 blah. So for a lot of people, there isn't that second part of the partnership, which is meds. It really is just what can I do? Where do I actually have control over my habits, my transitions, my transformation, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I'm gonna give no meds a shot. I was diagnosed last October, and it's July of the next following year. So, my life's completely changed because I'm able to see things clearer, and that's the foundation to move from. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm not pro or
Yeah,
anti or
me neither.
anything, but I think, like you said, so many people are waiting. In Scotland, it's 5 or 6 years. People are waiting. Absolute madness. And that's for those obviously don't, can't afford to
Right.
go private or are not sure about private because you're not sure if you can get the medication afterwards. So, but this is for
Yes.
another podcast. We're not going to get detail about that.
Yeah.
But it lays down quite interestingly, yeah, the kind of clients that come to you. So before we sort of touch on the topic here today, what was your own experience? When you discovered your truth, whatever wording we want to use for realizing you're neurodivergent. What did it feel like? Were you one of those people that had major grief and then working on the shame moving forward, or was it like, yes, true, finally, let's do this? Where did you sit?
Um, I sat very far outside of both of those camps. I, excuse me, I was diagnosed when I was about 28, I think, if I'm doing the math correctly. So at the time I was living in Nashville. This would have been, yeah, back mid 2000s, really, like pretty early on. I had a remote job, and that was not a thing at the time. Remote jobs were not a thing, but I was in
Mm,
sales, and I always kind of knew that I was probably a little bit neurodivergent just with the inattentiveness. Just yeah, like I said, I was the chatterbox. I was looking out the window all the time. I was constantly forgetting homework and book bags and this and that and losing everything. And my room was a mess and, all these things, all the executive functions that were not functioning. And so when I went to get my diagnosis, it's funny. It kind of circles back to what we were saying. I was like, yeah, just give me some meds. It'll be fine. Just give me some drugs and I'll be able to concentrate and get my work done. I've got my window open as well, so there's flies. Get my work done and, that'll be that. I don't really have to do much else. The meds will do the work for me. So got diagnosed again. I was not surprised. Yep, give me the meds. They gave me the meds. I tried the meds. I did not like the meds. I was super sensitive. The come downs were pretty brutal. I would, I would get more done, but then once that started, I felt like I was, the Hulk or something. It just did not. And then my sleep got really terrible, which my sleep's always been a bit not great, and it made that worse. So I went off meds, and I was like, well, I tried. Not really much I can do about it. So I really kind of went into this. This is just who I am, and everybody's going to have to deal with it. Take it or leave
mm.
it kind of situation. I really was not at that point in my life. I was not concerned with self awareness. I mean, I think that at that time, it didn't even really. It's like, yeah, I'm self aware, sure. Next, I didn't really want to
Mhm.
do that. So I think, not a conscious effort, but subconsciously, I kind of buried my head in the sand and called it a personality. All right, this is just who I am. And so that lasted for a while until it didn't. And things got real dicey with, getting fired from jobs and impulsively quitting before I had a new one and, just kind of a bit of a spiral. Um, and then I left the States in 2016 as a way to kind of escape responsibility. I was like, I'm just going to be a dirty backpacker. This is great. Doesn't matter. And it was kind of like that. It was like that for a while. It was great. I didn't really have the same amount of pressure and responsibility and all the things. But then when I decided to settle in Germany, my partner is German. It got to the point where it was like, I am spiraling every single day. I cannot get my shit together. And that's when I really started looking at, okay, look, there's something going on. There's a lot of things going on, and you need to do some of that self-awareness work. What's happening? Like I said, what's in your control? Some of this stuff is not in your control, but a whole lot more of it is than just, this is just my personality. There's nothing I can do about it. It was I wouldn't say I looked at it, in like a victim mentality of like, "Oh, this is just me." It was more like, "Okay, well, on to the next." But it was really affecting, yeah, my self-esteem, my self-worth, my relationships, how I walked through the world, and that's when things kind of needed to take a turn. So I started looking at my ADHD. I still decided to go against meds, partially because, like I said, they hadn't worked in the past, and partially because German bureaucracy around that was too big of a faff. So I decided to go against it. But yeah, I really kind of got into the coaching space, and through working with other neurodivergent people, I got to coach myself as well. And so I kind of came out on the other side of this transformation of like, holy shit, there is a whole world that, like I said, I'd buried my head in the sand. And so being able to really look at that and seeing how my brand of ADHD was showing up for me and what I could do about it, was a game changer.
Thank you so much. I feel I need to add a third thing now to the list. Thank you. I've heard a few stories like this, so now I am seeing there's the shame stuff, there's the right, I'm good to go, and then there's what
Yeah.
you're talking about
Yeah.
here, which is kind of a combination of yes, yeah, I'm going to live my truth, but maybe it's not coming from a a place of grounding. And also, I don't know what the right word is. Is denial a good word? What would be the word for this kind of path?
Yeah. I think it could be, um, or like willful naivete or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's a good
I'm not
one.
sure, but yeah, I think, there was, like I said, not really denial, but like toxically positive optimism or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's some good
Yeah.
words in there. Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you. I really do appreciate that because it does show that, discovering our truth doesn't always end up like a movie or whatever. It's completely, it depends on our experiences up to that point, our childhood experiences, what we feel about ourselves, all influences this stuff. It's not as simple as just getting, like, I got that email, this is your truth. There's sliding doors moments there, who knows? But I'm gonna do a podcast
Yeah,
about it. So that
exactly.
was and I've healed myself through meeting all of you people
Yeah.
over time. I'm just healing, 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 and accepting myself more every time. So I found my path
I love
in that
that.
way. Uh, but yeah, amazing stuff. Thank you. It's really good to give some context here to how you coach, and I can see the connections of how you're coaching to what you just said.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Authenticity is
Yeah,
key,
it is.
as Gabor Mate would
Well,
say.
and I think
Authenticity.
that's, part of that living that truth of like, yes, I'm a coach and I love it, and I have come, I mean, leaps and bounds, but my ADHD is still alive and well. She is thriving, right? And so I'm not cured just because I'm a coach. I'm not perfect just because I'm a coach. Perfection doesn't exist, but that's a different thing. But yeah, realizing that, not having that pressure of like, you're a coach and therefore your ADHD is supposed to be gone.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
it's not the case.
Yeah, just for listeners, I'm being clear that when I say heal, I mean my shame and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah. No, yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
all the
definitely.
emotional pain. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
to be sure, I'm not saying I'm healed from ADHD after doing a podcast for 8 months. Done.
If there's a whole
No,
explosion of ADHD podcasts.
yeah, but the community that I built around me, all of you guys, it's so special, and it's just so beautiful for my heart and soul to feel seen. So that's what we want. We want to feel seen, heard, understood, and loved. All the classics. So you kind of touched on this already, but just to staple it in, the key things that people come to you with, we hear the same things, shame, trying to process what their diagnosis. How can I survive better in life? Are you seeing anything different to those sort of things? What are people coming to you with?
Yeah, I mean, I do see a lot of, yeah, I mean, I think shame. I think it's really interesting because I think that depending on the brain, obviously, and the lived experience, a lot of people don't come to me and say, I'm experiencing a lot of shame.
Yeah.
It's there, and once we get 2, 3, 4 sessions in, you're like, "Oh, okay." But and I think a lot of people have probably seen this. What people think they're coming for and what they're actually coming for end up being maybe a little bit different. Sometimes it's spot on. But a lot of times it is so much more of that mindset work. I do see a lot of all or nothing. That is like one of the biggest things that I see when I have my discovery calls. The two things that we really kind of talk about are overwhelm and some task paralysis is what I see every day. And I experience that myself, as well as that all or nothing. And within all or nothing, there's a bit of the self-sabotage that comes with that. So I just had a call with a girl that was talking about wanting to get back into yoga. She had done yoga and she loved it, and she was having some back pain, and then she started doing yoga, and then she was waking up and feeling better and this and that. She's made a move and she has not found a new studio for various reasons. And so I'm like, okay, well, there are other options for a studio. She's like, yeah, no. Ah, okay. So I'm like, so do you
Mm.
know how to do a sun salutation? She's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. Can you get up tomorrow morning and do 10? She's like, yeah. Like, would that be better than not moving your body all day? Well, yeah. There you go. So I think we have this thought of like, I have to do this big giant thing. We talked about the gym as well. Either go to the gym for a solid 60 minutes to 90 minutes, or I'm not going to get off the couch. And that all or nothing, and that's just a very low hanging fruit, easy example of the gym, will almost always end up keeping you stuck. There are very few people that can pull off an all or nothing. And some people do. Some people pull off the all or nothing, but most of us end up in the nothing. And that is where, like I said, that stuckness and that feeling of I can't do anything, I can't start anything. It's because your bar is up here of I have to go to a 90-minute yoga class. Whereas if you will lower the bar to I can't get to a yoga class. I've just moved back. I don't have a job right now. I can't quite afford it. I don't know where a studio is, but I can do 10 sun salutations in my living room in my underwear, not even have to, put on yoga pants. Okay, let's start there. But a lot of people think, well, that doesn't count. 10 sun salutations in my
Mhm.
room in my underwear doesn't count. And I want to flip that of why not? Why doesn't it count? What's the thought behind that? Is it that you genuinely don't think it's worth it? Or is it, I've been taught to believe that unless I do a full blown whatever it is, it's not good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Do you think is it a combination of the drive that we may be having in our brain, but also belief systems that have built up over time? Do you think it's like a medley of that? Is it mostly our brain driving us in that way, all or nothing? Or there's a story and a narrative that keeps underpinning it all as well that we've learned?
I think it's probably a combination of the two. I think that, societally, you can't go to the gym for 20 minutes. Who goes to the gym for 20 minutes? Where I'm like, well, you've got a membership, you're paying for it. Why not? If you just want to go and walk on the treadmill and watch an episode of Friends, who said you can't do that? But through programming and yeah, societal influences, that's not an option. That's almost even worse than not going. It makes us look lazy or, whatever. So I think there is some of that. And then I do think that our brain chemistry plays into some of that. Like I said, that sabotage. Well, I don't have time to go to the gym for an hour, so I'm just not going to go. And therefore, I'm not going to get any movement in today. Right. Or I really want to go to the gym, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. So that's that kind of task initiation of, and that can be with work, that can be with your podcast, that can be with cleaning your house, that can be with having a chat with your partner or friend, a chat that needs to happen. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. And so, like I said, I think that's probably one of the other things that I see on a regular basis of people waking up with, a massive amount of overwhelm because I don't know where to start. And a lot of people that I work with, they work from home, they kind of run their own schedules, which sounds great, right? The world is my oyster. But what happens is that unstructured time leads to so much overwhelm and chaos that you end up not doing anything because you don't know where to start. And so looking at that, what I always tell people is the night before, look at your day the night before, not on Sunday looking for the whole week. You start the night before and say, all right, tomorrow's Friday. What are my big stones of the day? What are my static moments throughout my day that don't move? I've got this on my calendar for today. I've got another call after this. Okay. That means I've got 3 hours in the morning. Well, you know how this goes. If you're kind of doing your own thing, there's a million things I could do. Or, parents that are home with kids during the holidays. Well, we could do a million things today. So looking at it the night before when you're a bit more regulated to say, you know what, I'm going to start tomorrow off with this very specific, small, low-hanging fruit task. And that's what I put in as like a momentum task. Doesn't have to be build a website. That's the all. It also doesn't have to be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. Nothing. I'm going to find a, domain for my website, whatever it is. Breaking things
Mhm.
down in a really intentional way, using AI if that feels comfortable for you, all of that, but looking at your days and having a momentum task, where you're gonna start, an accomplishment task. What's one thing I would like to do today to feel accomplished? And again, we're not saying build a website unless that's something that you can do in a day. It certainly was not something I could do in a day. So, maybe it is writing the first bit of copy for the top of my homepage, right? Like getting really granular. It's an accomplishment task. Don't wanna, but gotta. What's one task that you need to get done tomorrow? You don't want to do it, but you got to do it. Put it on the list. And then you can have a couple things on an overflow if you get those first few things done. So it really helps you have more of like a blueprint of your day. It's not etched in stone and signed in blood. We can move things around, but it gives you a roadmap and some guardrails to help steer away from the all or nothing, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I love this. Yeah, we dive straight in. I love it. So let's keep going with the mindset stuff we talk about here. And it's interesting because you were saying that I'm always like thinking, am I all or nothing? The big thing for me is I can't finish. So if I start something, it takes so much mental capacity to say, oh, and stop. And years ago, podcasting, like you said, the only way I can have achieved today is if I've edited this whole show and published
Yeah.
it. And then I can go and enjoy the rest of my day or my evening. And I've had to really work on that and bring so much compassion and awareness around those thought processes. And now get to a point that Andy and Free, for example, just tend to it with at least one thing a day, like you said. So it could be voice messaging a potential new
Yeah.
guest. That's kind of enough because that guest could come on. I get an opportunity to work with them or something that could transform my life. So I try and look at it that way. That one message could lead to all kinds of things as a
Yes.
connection. Whereas if I say I'm going to edit 20 minutes of a podcast, that's a slightly different thing. I have to negotiate in my brain, just 20 minutes. Whereas if it's an act, like you just said, it's a start and a complete process, and it's done something towards the growth of what I'm doing. I'm not sitting back and scared it's going to end because I haven't done anything.
Yeah, and this is really like all of these things that I'm talking about, they're not just like flip a switch things. These things are difficult and they take time. And when you're used to being like, I'm gonna edit a whole podcast and get it up and get it published, and that is your accomplishment, to scale that down to I'm gonna message a potential, guest, it's a pretty big gap. And your nervous system can be like, this is not right, we're not doing the things. And so you've got to kind of look at where you are and try to meet yourself there, and you want to move that needle 1%, 1%, because that is sustainable. If we're looking at, because I'll talk to people about like, okay, what's actually realistic. Well, we have a hard time judging what's realistic. I can realistically get all these things done on my to-do list. I'll be up till 4 in the morning, but I can get it done. It's realistic. Okay, what's sustainable? That's a bit of a different question. Looking at the state sustainability based on what does the rest of your life look like? And this can go in any area, right? The sustainability of, um, what you're doing with your kids. Like I just had a chat with a client about summer holidays are coming up. She wants to be really intentional with the time she spends with, her daughter. And she was talking about kind of letting her things, she was like, I feel like that my writing and my this is a bit selfish. And I'm like, "Okay, cool, like, let's dismantle that a little bit because if you're trying to give to your child from an empty vessel and you get a little bit resentment, towards your kid because you haven't been doing your thing, your kid doesn't see you taking time for yourself, that's what you're modeling, that's what you're teaching." So these things can come into play of like, I want to intentionally, whether it's work, family, relationships, community, it needs to be with intention and sustainable.
Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? Is that we feel maybe with rigid thinking, we feel like the action we're about to take is just so good, so great. We're going to put that person first, and that's love. And then we use all these stories and belief systems that we sort of, which on paper do kind of
Yeah.
make sense, but it's really hard to stand back. And I think that's one of the biggest skills to stand back, passionately witness what's happening and say, well, hang on a minute, like I'm actually quite important as well. Like my needs really matter, and I'm a being that deserves to have my needs met as well. And I think for parenting, especially as a stepdad, it's tricky. It's tricky to know that actually, if I take care of myself and meet my needs, I can be the best stepdad in the world. Rather than to be the best stepdad is to give him everything I've got to the point of burnout. And it kind of makes sense, but doesn't really. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does, like, you know, proactively taking time for yourself, proactively resting on purpose. It really allows you to show up in a way that you're not grumpy and snappy and, subconsciously resentful or, any of these things because you haven't taken care of yourself. And that doesn't necessarily mean like, I need a month away in, Spain by myself. Like, I mean, if that's your jam, then yeah, do it. But we're talking about really, like I said, those 1% things of my needs matter as well. And like I said, you want, in my opinion, I don't have kids, so I can't speak to it, fully, but you want to model to these little humans that you taking care of you matters, me taking care of me matters. And this is what that looks like. And this is how I can show up, and we can show up together because we've both rested, taken a nap, drank some water, like whatever it is, making sure that they're seeing that as well when they step into adolescence and adulthood and shows them boundaries and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've always loved the fact that they're watching what you're doing, not what you're saying. I mean, you can see all kinds of things, but they are watching. They are aware of how you're behaving, and that's shaping their view of life. Is that what behavior
Yeah.
looks like? So, if I'm on a screen with him and it starts to hurt my brain, it feels like a vice in my cortex. I know exactly what it feels like. I said, oh, it's too much screen time. I'm just gonna have a little 5 minute break on the balcony. And he's like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll do that as well. Like he wouldn't have done that if I said, come off your screen, but it's showing him this is the impact of the screen on me. This is what I need to do. And it works. It's weird. It's very
Yeah,
powerful.
it definitely is. It is a powerful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff. So yeah, you talk about all or nothing here. So also the black and white thinking, are we saying they're quite similar? I kind of feel like, for example, this needing to finish thing. So I did a degree, graphic design degree. I finished my first year. It taught me the lesson of you got to wait, mate. I'm afraid, because my brain's like, I want it
Mhm.
now. That's quite an ADHD thing. Now, please. Um, but this degree has taught me, Freddie, you have to wait 9 months, and you've got to get through each assignment first. So, do you have any people with a right now mentality which holds them back as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are like that. That is kind of why people, this goes back to sustainability. I'll talk to people and they're like, right, I'm downloading the new app. I'm getting the new diary. I've got a new planner. I've got a new notebook. I've got a new, automated system, blah, 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 blah. And they try to overhaul their entire lives in a weekend. And it's too much, too fast. They burn out on all of them. And then they're like, see, I knew it. I'm crap. Can't stick to anything. All went to shit. Whereas if you'll kind of look at, like you said, with your degree, the foundations of that, you have to learn how to do, I don't know anything about graphic design, but you have to start, module one, and then you build on those skills. And that is a conversation that sometimes we have to have with ourselves. Like you were talking about that, like stepping back and looking at it. It's forcing the pause. Sometimes we need, whatever that looks like. Maybe the screen on your phone says pause to remind us to like, wait a minute. I cannot snap my fingers and have a graphic design degree. I cannot snap my fingers and overhaul my entire life. I've got to really start with what are the things that are really messing me up the most? So, like I said, waking up with that overwhelm. All right. For the next week that we work together, I want you to show up with, I want your nightly brain dumps. I want to see them. And then that becomes foundational. Okay. And then we can build on that. Because if you're trying to throw all this stuff in a pot and then build on it, yeah, you might be able to do that a little bit, but the sustainability is not going to work and it's all going to end up crashing down. And then that makes you feel all of the things, the shame and the guilt and the wasted time. And I can't stick to anything and I can't finish anything. I think that, and I don't know, this might sound bad. Okay, you started a graphic design degree, right? You want to finish that. That's something that you want to finish for multiple reasons. You've put time, you've put money, you've put energy and effort, and you want the outcome. You want to know how to design graphics, right? So in that case, it matters. But I wonder if there are things that people are, well, I started it, so I got to finish it. When it's like, do you? I don't know. Do you always have to finish everything you start? And again, this is not an excuse to shirk responsibilities or, oh, well, I joined that team and I'm bored now, so I'm going to quit. It's not that, but it's like if you've started a hobby and you don't feel like following through with it, cool. Don't start something else. I think I see a lot of that when it comes to shame. I don't stick with anything. Okay, well, it's because you have ADHD and your brain wants new and novel and shiny and dopamine. So if watercolor becomes boring after 2 weeks, cool. Switch to something else. Expect it. It's going to happen. Your hobbies will more than likely change. You might pick one or two that you really stick with and that you really like, but expect the change to come. I know that's a little bit different than what you're talking about as far as like finishing tasks.
Mhm.
But really looking at what matters and who does it matter for? Am I finishing this because my partner wants me to finish this? I started this degree because I don't even actually really want it. It no longer is serving me. I don't the thought of doing this for the rest of my life kind of makes me ill, right? Not at all saying that's where you're at, but just really
Mhm.
thinking about what do you want to do for you?
I love that. It's kind of like leaning into these little traits, or whatever you want to call them, from ADHD, especially, is leaning into them and reframing it and going, "Oh, it's interesting how I start things, never finish them, but reframe to. I love the way that I start things. I get to learn all this cool stuff. Then I get to learn something else. It's amazing. I get to be a more rounded
Yeah,
human being, and that's what I did. I just reframed it that way. That's what I personally did, and it really, really
yeah.
helped. And I've got a trail of YouTube channels and various other bits that I've started. Within 1 week, we started a fidget spinner channel, me and my stepson, where you record 6 of them spinning. It's really
Oh,
relaxing.
nice.
2 weeks later, and that was months ago. 2 weeks later, the channel's there. I'm not going back to that. I got very obsessed there for a moment, and that is awesome because someone can watch that and they're going to have a great time. I'm ready to move on now. And it was a good lesson for him. He's like, should we do any more videos? And I explained where I was at. And he goes, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And it more modeling there. But I think leaning into some of this
Yeah,
stuff and
the
seeing,
leaning in is like the acceptance. The acceptance of I am always going to have like a floor drobe. It's just part of who I am. I can mitigate that a little bit with having like a dirty clothes basket and a clean clothes basket so that it's kind of organized chaos. But I am never going to be one of those people that tries something on, decides not to wear it, and hangs it back up immediately. We're going to let go of that. And that's okay. Right. So leaning into some of the things, as long as it's not, if my partner was very like, this is driving me insane, you cannot have all these clothes on the floor, then that would be a different thing. But leaning into what does it matter? Does it, a lot of that I think is societal, the way that we're raised, like, but you're a woman, your room is supposed to be spotless and like, place of joy and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I like my room, I like my bed, but I don't mind clothes on the floor. It doesn't really bother me. And it's not affecting anybody else. So I'm going to lean into that side of my disorganization and kind of let it thrive there. And maybe that'll allow me to show up in my business a little bit more organized because I can kind of let other places go and I can kind of let my ADHD shine in those places that doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess you don't want to be fighting against these things either, because it takes so much mental capacity and like urge capacity from your nervous system to not do these natural things. You've got to be really careful of that. And I think it depends on what it is, isn't it? Obviously, if you've got an idea and you run away with it and you spend loads of money on it, which affects your family, puts you into debt, obviously we don't want to be doing that. But we're talking about, you know, what you're talking about, a floor
Yeah.
drobe or a spinner channel. It didn't cost me. I had to buy all the spinners, but I love spinners. I use them every
Yeah.
single day.
Perfect.
There's no one's losing here. My whole family has got spinners now in this big tin. We've got 50 of them.
Love
Well,
that. Yeah.
and it's
I think
fine.
too, if you can, so I'm a big fan of ish. So rules ish, structure ish, routine ish. And so if stuff like that is kind of an issue for you, looking at, all right, what is a rules ish I can put in place? So if I want to start a YouTube channel, cool, I got to wait 48 hours to buy the domain. Or, I want to buy all these fidget spinners. Okay, cool. I'm going to have a little bit of a rule ish put in place. Or I know that my hobbies change all the time. Fine. When a new hobby comes about, I am allowed to spend, I'll use watercolors because I did that for a minute, literally like maybe 27 days. I have a budget. I am allowed to spend no more than 30 bucks. So I went to the drugstore and I got a cheap set of watercolors and some brushes and some thick paper, 30 bucks. If I stick with said hobby for 6 months or longer, I am allowed to reinvest some actual money in it. And that's a rule-ish that I do really try to stick to because it feeds the dopamine of buying the new things, 30 bucks, okay. And again, that might be out of somebody's budget, so adjust to what works for you. But okay, I can do that. Brought me a little bit of dopamine, brought me a little bit of happiness. I kind of have an understanding of watercolors because, of course, I went down the YouTube, how
Mhm.
to do this, how to do that. But when I give it up in less than a month, I don't beat myself up about it. I don't go out and buy the best watercolors and the best brushes and the best, most amazing paper. I'm going to give it a shot first because I know how my brain works. Yeah.
I love that you beat me to it. I was literally about to say, I've recently tried and sleep on it for 2 nights. And then after 2 days, pretty much 50% of the time, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that
100%.
anymore. So I saved myself a lot of pain. Some stuff I'm just going to go for it because the urge is way
Yeah,
too
yeah, yeah.
strong. Other
Again, that's why
time,
it's ish. 80% of
sleep
the
on it.
time we have our things handled, things are going well. At least that's kind of what I urge people to go for. 20% of the time, dumpster fire on roller skates, all rules are off. Yeah.
Yeah. And the flip side of that is that you don't lean into any of those urges whatsoever. And again, sliding doors, who knows what could have happened. And I've made some big decisions sometimes that have led to the most beautiful
100%.
experiences that I will always love. So that trail of stuff is just experience that I've
Yeah.
gained, which allows me to hold the space here to be with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I know that we're making it very Disney here, but it is very much like this in a way. But it's interesting because a lot of stuff you're talking about here, they all intertwine in some way, the way we relate to our thoughts and our belief systems. And is this true? Is this not true? Do I deserve to do this, or should I live this perfect life for other people? It's all our relationship with our thoughts, our mind, and our emotions, isn't it? All sort of playing
Right.
out.
Yeah, it does go back to, like what you were just saying, like, am I allowed, like, really kind of giving yourself a bit of a mantra. I'm allowed to have a wardrobe. I'm allowed to, you can't see because I'm blurred, but there's not really any artwork on my walls because I gave up on having that on my to-do list. It was stressing me out. I couldn't figure out what pictures to do and what, I wanted it to look perfect like Pinterest. And so I've got a couple of pictures up with some friends and some family, but I let that go. I let go of the guilt behind that because I'm allowed to do that. And so reminding yourself of you are allowed to do something. And two things can exist at the same time. I'm allowed to not go all in Pinterest wall collage photos. And I'm allowed to be like, dang, I wish that was more important to me. Because I love it when I see it in other people's houses, but it's just not important to me. So both of those things can exist at the same time. And I think that that's an important thing to remember as we're walking through this, is it good? Is it bad? Am I allowed? Do I deserve it? You're allowed to hold two thoughts at the same time.
Definitely, definitely. I've got so many questions, but we can't continue, and I am
Oh, no.
devastated. I could talk about this all
Yeah.
day long. Just very quickly, we'll touch on it. With neuroplasticity, for years I've been interviewing people on this, just the power of this, be able to change our neural pathways over time. No evidence you can rewire ADHD out of your
Right.
system, but you can certainly strengthen the pathways to help you more with the presentations. And I think that's hope for me. Neuroplasticity, that is hope. That's it's like the ultimate scientific hope for me. Is that actually if I keep doing the stuff that I'm doing that are going to help me, it could actually get easier a year from now because I've been practicing it, and my brain is automatically following me on that journey. And I think that's hope personified.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is looking at, progress over perfection, having that moment of self-reflection, which ADHDers we're not great at self-reflection or future planning. So when you notice that something, a pattern is being repeated, okay, wait, this keeps happening. I keep having this thought. Was there a trigger to this thought? Was there, something that even after the fact you can look back on? And then as you start to pay attention to that, you might catch it during the thought. Oh, it's happening. Okay, I caught it. Hell yeah. Well done. And then you start to see it before it happens. And
Yeah.
I feel like that neuroplasticity makes so much sense because we have, you know, we've taught ourselves a million things. Just look at hyperfocus. Look at, you know, going down the YouTube rabbit holes of how do I start a YouTube channel? Well, people are learning that at 75 years old and older. That's a new skill. So are executive functions. It's the awareness of what would I like to change and what is the smallest first step to getting there. It's like running a marathon. You train your lungs and your legs with 1/2 mile with, a walk around the block. And then you pick up the pace a little bit, and then you do it more, and then you do it more. Our brains are exactly the same way. But it really does come down to intention and implementation, and that's where things get real tricky.
Yes, and a lot of what you've discussed today and some of the hints tips you gave us is a prime example of if we do these things every day, who knows what's going to happen? You've got nothing to lose. If you, whatever way you can actually get
Yeah.
it done, it's not as easy as just
No.
doing it. But that is again another
Yeah.
podcast. That's a whole other thing. Motivation and getting these things done. But no, I love it. I love it. There's so much
Yeah.
hope there. But this has been wonderful. We do generally look at sort of occasionally key breakthroughs for clients, but I think a lot of the stuff that we discussed here, you can see where the breakthroughs can come, especially what you said there, pattern recognition, recognize the pattern, and then eventually you'll go, okay, here it comes. And you're like, phew, I
Yeah.
avoided it. And then you can feel really
And
proud of
and
that, which
and
is amazing.
realizing that there are structures that you can put in place that don't have to stay in place forever, right? So we'll go back to that nightly brain dump example that I talked to people about of setting up your day the night before. Well, a lot of people that I work with are like, I keep forgetting to do that brain dump. Okay, for the next 30 days, I need you to have as many external clues as possible. I need you to have a Post-it on your lamp beside your bed. I need you to have an alarm that goes off at 10 p.m. and 9 p.m. that says, do the brain dump. I need you to have a very specific, fun-looking notebook that sits by your bed that triggers that thought. Oh yeah, that's my brain dump notebook. You don't have to do that forever. You don't have to have an alarm that goes off forever, but for a little bit while you're learning the skill, you've got to remind yourself that you're trying to remember to do something. And it's a pain and it's annoying, but we'll be okay. We can do painful, hard things.
Exactly. You're right. It
Yeah.
can be annoying. All the little things I've got around my flat. I like to have a sort of clear space. I don't know if maybe I'm ADHD, but I like to have clear surfaces. But I have to suck it up, and the one by my bed has to have the magnesium tablets in before I go to bed. It has to be there. My big tin of spinners. Every day I'll go to the tin and pick one up. I never would have done that if it was in a drawer. The tin has to be out. It's tough, tough
Yeah,
shit. The
exactly.
tin
Yeah.
is there
You've
and it works. I always have one in my pocket now. It's been beautiful. It's a game
yeah.
changer for me. If I'm in the schoolyard and I'm finding it uncomfortable, get my spinner out, spin. I'm starting to feel more regulated. But I needed the tin. The tin's the
It's
gateway, you
that
know?
visual cue. We treat our brains like they are Velcro, and they are Teflon, my love. And that's okay. We gotta externalize our brains at all possible turns. At least for a little bit. When I talk to people about time blindness, time your showers for a week. How long do they actually take? Yes, it's a pain in the ass to do that for 7 days, but do it. Do it for 7 days. Come out of that 7 days, what's your average? Oh, you thought you were taking 4-minute showers and they're actually 14? Interesting how that morning gets away from you when your brain is telling you something takes 4 minutes and the actuality is 14. Yeah.
Yes, I do have my little wind-up clock. Not digital one, no phones,
Yeah.
please, but little wind-up clock. I always forget to use it, even if I put it out. So there's a lot more work
Yeah.
to do. But it's kind of out of sight, out of mind as well. And that could be a big part of ND is that if it's not there, it doesn't exist. And then you're like, oh, why didn't I do that? It's because your brain isn't tracking or looking for it. It needs to be really quite blatant. And there's nothing wrong with that. Zero issue. It's okay to do those
You are
things. So,
allowed.
yeah, I love this. We're allowed. That's a good takeaway
Yeah.
from
You're
today.
allowed.
And we
Yeah.
deserve to meet our needs as well. I forget that
Yeah.
sometimes. That I deserve a bit of self-love
Yeah.
as well. Amazing stuff. Well, I absolutely love this. Our connection was not wrong. You are
Oh,
fantastic.
you are as well. Thank you so much
So,
for having
uh,
me.
yeah, I really love this. And I really love that you're doing work with men in the space. I think in this particular space, I think there's a lot more work to do. There's no men's groups locally near me which are ND informed. So we've just about got men's groups on the ground after 30 years. Right, guys, you can talk
Yeah.
now. And now they're like, we want to talk about ND as well. Nah, it's going
Yeah.
too far. So we need more people of any gender out there
Yeah.
doing work for the men as well,
Definitely.
which is
Yeah.
amazing.
The men's group is I think it's a special space. There's not a lot of men's spaces in general, like you said, much less ND men's spaces, because that brings up a whole different level of guilt and shame and all the thing from the male experience. And so yeah, I'm really grateful that the guys I have in this first cohort are trusting me to hold the space for them and to show up and to be vulnerable and all the things. I feel like that it's really special.
I love that. It's amazing. And, I can see that there needs to be more men out here as well, podcasting about and stuff, which is kind of why I wanted to do it. So I'm feeling happy about that. So where can we find you? Where are we going to go check you out? I'll put links in the show notes, but just let
Yeah,
us know as
sure.
well.
So my main social platform is Instagram. So that is going to be adhd.coach.leah, Leah. I am over there. Social media is kind of love and hate, right? We got to be there, but I'm not a content creator. I'm not an influencer, but I do put up tidbits of information. So I have a weekly newsletter that goes out. It is Momentum Monday on a Sunday because we're going to need a minute to get our shit together. So we start on Sunday to have it together by Monday. And then I do like a little podcast video version of that that newsletter that goes out as well, and then I'll take a clip of that and put it on Instagram. So follow me over there for that kind of stuff, and then obviously you can sign up for the newsletter if that is something that strikes your fancy. And then you can check out all of this on my website, which is leahccoaching.com. There's that. Those are the best places you can find me. I do a free discovery call. It's a free 45-minute coaching call. It is not a sales call. It is an actual let's dive in, and then I'm going to spend about a minute and a half telling you about my programs, and then we'll go from there, which is against the advice of every marketing person I've ever worked with, but here we are. So yeah, head over there and check it out.
Yeah. Well, in this space, people are buying people, so it's based on rapport, trust, and vulnerability. So it's a completely different industry. And I think if you don't feel safe in that space, nothing's ever going to work. So rapport building is just huge, huge. I've done this the wrong way around, but actually I quite like this. So now, before we leave, is your parting message of joy, as I call it. So a little message to our NDers out there listening about how we're going to be all right. We're great. Do you know what I mean? But in your own words.
Yeah. My parting message of joy. I feel like that I want you to take away, like you said, like you're allowed, you deserve it, that kind of thing. But there is so much hope out here. If you've just been diagnosed, or if you were diagnosed, yonks ago and you're still struggling, you don't have to do it alone. And that is not me, plugging my coaching services, although, but that is just saying that there are so many of us out here that are experiencing these struggles. And I think that one of the most important things that we can try to build for ourselves within this space is a community, is people that can understand what it is like to know the thing that you need to do, but I can't do the thing that I need to do. And there is hope of neuroplasticity, and you can make those changes. You do have more control than you have led yourself to believe. You can trust yourself. I promise.
Love it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Hope is a big thing from today as well, which I think we all need, all humans.
Yeah. And you're not broken. There's nothing to fix. We're just trying to make improvements on the things that drive us crazy, right? Like that's at the end of the day, if your floor drobe is making you go insane, all right, let's chat about it, right? It's those kind, if you're struggling, let's chat, let's figure it out.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. The things that have the biggest impact, maybe bring some attention to them, but the rest of it, go wild. As long as it's not, obviously affecting any other humans. Go wild. I don't also have to put that in at the end. As long as it doesn't hurt. You kind of have to do that. But thank you so much. All our guests are starting to slowly come back on, a couple of months later. So if you're keen, I'd love to have you back on, because I think there's so much more we could have covered here today.
Of course. I would love to come back. It's so much fun. Obviously, we are both really passionate about the neurodiverse space, and we could sit here and talk for a week straight and still not cover everything that needs to be covered. So yes, I would love to come back and have a chat.
Amazing. Yeah, that'll be wonderful. I'll be in touch. But yeah, thank you, Leah. Thank you, everybody, for listening at home. I hope you're really enjoying this. I have so many people booked in, but I'm going to have to take a little break for some holidays with the family at the beach. Looking forward to that. I've just launched a new Instagram channel, which is where my coaching business will be launched in the autumn. Really excited for that. It won't just be ADHD based. It's all based on trauma, self-awareness. And I've been doing Eckhart Tolle's Teacher of Presence course. It's quite a long one, but he's incredible, and using presence to help ourselves. So I'll put a link in the description. It's called The Awareness Space. That's the name of my business, and it is Neurodivergent Informed. So go and check it out. I launched it today, Leah, literally before I came on the call. So I am like buzzing right now because I am living my truth. I've been a wellbeing coach for years, and I don't use it because I'm in my own way. But now I know exactly the space I want to hold. I wasn't ready then, and I'm ready now. And there's a message for hope you all as well. If you don't feel you're ready yet, doesn't mean it's never going to happen. So go check it out, guys, and stick around for the adverts after this. Anquay's mushroom gummies, sales, sorry, Leah. Anquay mushroom gummies have really, really helped my brain. I can't explain it. They've been incredible. Great company. So I'm a partner with them. Stick around for the ad. I had a lot of fun filming it. Great tune in the background. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next time for more ND Chat.
ND and Free is in partnership with Anquay Mushroom Gummies. Since my ADHD diagnosis in October 2024, I had been trying to find a supplement to help my struggle to focus, ease my brain fog, and help my overall energy. I had been getting mixed results from multiple supplements until I came across Anquay's mushroom gummies. So I removed all other supplements and began to take 2 of the delicious tasting gummies each morning after eating. By the 4th week, I really started to notice I could focus for longer and my brain fog wasn't anywhere near as bad. Naturally, they may not work for everybody, but I feel it's my mission to at least let you all know about these gummies. They include 10 functional mushrooms within them, including lion's mane, shiitake, and turkey tail mushrooms. With their non-GMO, gluten-free, and filler-free gummies, they offer a tasty solution to an ND brain. You can order one-off pouches with 60 gummies inside or sign up to the discounted monthly bundles. Best of all, if you use my code OWEN15, you'll get 15% off your order. Visit www.anquay.com and use code OWEN15 at checkout. That is www.ankhway.com.